And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Regen Circle. Once again, here every Thursday, sharing really important topics about regenerative culture based on 8 pillars: regenerative living, regenerative education, regenerative economy, regenerative business, regenerative governance, regenerative technology, and of course, regenerative arts and music. Today, we did all those topics already, and today is one of the most deepest topics and really controversial. It's regenerative spirituality and spirituality in general. So, this is a very broad awareness of what spirituality is based on different cultures, different countries, different regions, different ages or eras of our lives. There is a importance about understanding where does the spirituality come from, when we start practicing it. And I found a documentary. It's ancient wisdom. I'm going to share it in the link here, and it talks about the Homo naledi. Before us humans, right, the evolution of humanity, Homo naledi is a species of us Homo sapiens before we became that, and it traces back 350,000 years ago. What? Yes. And there is traces that brings these beings of practicing some kind of spirituality, which they found a deep cave, bones of people, but also traces of that they used to do fire inside the cave here. And what happens is that these people would have someone die, and they will carry the body through this very difficult cave, very thin, very dangerous, and they will go through that whole process, not to live there, not to sleep there, but to have a ceremonial experience. So they will create the fire inside the cave, and apparently they would have some type of connection of gratitude for that person or that being's life. So that was the earliest and stages of humanity, or these species of Homo naledi, that had the opportunity to have a spiritual experience, have a connection of there's something more beyond the physical. There is something to be grateful for in this life. So people would die and they would have this whole experience and honor that person or being's life. So that's interesting to know, because from there on, we carry somewhat that connection of being grateful for our death. Imagine any type of species or being or animal to be grateful for life. If you observe, there's also on YouTube or different types of channels that you see animals grieve for the other animal's life when they're dead, especially if a family, let's say a family of lions or a family of elephants, a family of dogs, even dogs cry for their owner's life when they're dead. There's a connection there of understanding that, okay, I'm alive right now, we're conscious. Now someone's dead and they're not going to be here with us anymore. So we give some type of awareness of that person's life, and therefore ceremonial experiences really enhances that awareness, and to be grateful for our lives while we're being grateful for that person's life that's already gone. So this is important to understand where spirituality has been coming from over the thousands of years. And hence, now we are living in 2026, which is after Jesus Christ. So it's 2026 years after, when we already been hundreds of thousands of years practicing some type of connection to God and our spiritual world. So now we are in this age of life with technology and all these cities and concrete world. that we have separated our connection to what spirituality is, what our essence is. So there's religions, there are dogmas that has been posed in our lives when we were children. And I have a story about myself, and I'm sure you do too. And this is what we're coming together to share our stories. So what happens is when we start understanding that there's something bigger and greater than us, it's amazing to have that feeling. But when we're imposed that there has to be this way of being in order to be accepted by God, that is strange. And I feel resistance somehow. So just going to understand what a spirituality is, I'm just going to read this really quick, right online. Spirituality is broadly defined as a subject's search for ultimate meaning, purpose, and connection to something greater than oneself, often involving a focus on the deepest values of meanings by which people live. Unlike religion, which typically involves organized institutions and dogma, spirituality is generally a personal, individual experience that can exist within or separate from religious frameworks. So, with that said, we have a differentiation between spirituality and religion, in which how do you feel about that? Are you a religious person or are you a spiritual person? There's a slight difference. If I consider myself spiritual, I'm more broadly open to all types of religion. If I say I'm this type of religion, I'm closed to other perceptions of spirituality. And therefore, you come with, oh, the God I follow or the God that we practice or the spirituality we practice is the only one and the other ones are mistaken. When at the end, nobody has the ultimate truth. Nobody. We have been getting closer to what our reality is and the perception of our reality, but we don't know. At the end, we don't know nothing. There's an infinite amount of information, there's an infinite amount of existence, and we're just this little thing that we are still discovering what we are, basically. So, going deep into what spirituality is, I have found really interesting perceptions of what it is and how to connect and how to apply it in our lives. So let me understand this with you. The perception of our reality, it's limited by what we have been taught, what we have been learning of what our reality is. So we think we are the physical form. We think we are humans and that's it. However, we are an energy force that has always existed before we became a body. So we think that spirituality is separate from us. We think we have to chase or become a spiritual, but we are already spiritual. Before we even are humans, we have never been separated from spirituality or separated from God. Somehow our perception has been separating that from ourselves. So we forgot. We forgot that we are a spiritual being before we even became human. And therefore, when we die, we continue to be a spiritual being. And we reincarnate or we live in other dimensions. We're still discovering that. But we do know that there is an expanded perception of our realities. There's so many, there's dimensions, there's different types of understanding of ourselves as an existent being. And when we explore and discover what we are, who we are, what we're here for, we start understanding our connection to the spiritual realm, God, the collective consciousness, the quantum field. There's many ways we can express this. And there is this consciousness that I am who I am what I am. I am aware of myself. I'm alive. I can die. I'm conscious about myself. Then there's the expanded consciousness that is not just me, it's my family, it's my community, my neighborhood, my city. It's not just the humans, it's the animals, it's the plants, it's the trees. So the more we expand our consciousness, the more we are connected to our spiritual self in the collective spiritual realm. So we are all connected. We have been taught again, or we have forgotten that we are part of something bigger. We have individualized ourselves, in which we now live in the cities, in our own apartment, nobody to talk to, nobody to share life with. And that isolation creates a lot of trauma, a lot of diseases, even because, again, before the physical, there is an energy force. And if there's a sickness, if we have a disease, that disease existed first in the energy force, in the realm, in the quantum field. And we attract that subconsciously, unconsciously, in which this whole awareness of how we are interacting with the universe is a spirituality. How we interact with our daily lives is a spirituality. So, for example, if I drink a glass of water, I just chug it in and drink it because I'm thirsty, and that's it. And I don't have any awareness or a mindful act of drinking the water. When we go deep into it and becoming aware and grateful of the water, where does it come from? The rain, the paramos, which are the mountains, and all the process of getting the water into our hands and treating it like just resource, and have it in a plastic cup or plastic bottle. There is no honoring of the water, and therefore we are not honoring ourselves. We're not honoring or respecting our existence. So we just chug the water in, no meaning, nothing. In reality, in being aware of the water, and we drink it and we are like, okay, let me appreciate this moment. I'm going to drink because water is life. Water, I'm 90% water. My brain functions with water. And so I'm going to drink the water with all the love, with all the appreciation. So I vibrating frequency to it. I vibrate the frequency to it of love and care and attention and gratitude. And I drink the water. And that programming of that water, I program myself as well. That's spiritual. So when you see someone blessing the water, that's spiritual. And it's not only the spiritual realm, the woo-woo type thing. It's also scientific, in which just now science is trying to understand what ancestors used to do in this spiritual sense. So the more we interact with nature, with life, with ourselves, the more we are connected to our spiritual existence. So when we bless the water and we're drinking and we're programming it, we are having that communication with God. Another way to understand this is when we come together as a community and we share the water. It's like, hey, yeah, here's the water, boom. And then compared to wine, the wine has a beautiful glass. It's a glass, is a very fancy, very great. And then you take the glass and you have a way to put your hand with the glass, and then you drink the glass. Wait, before you smell it, and then you taste it, right? And then that's the wine. Why are we not doing that with water? Why don't we treat water the same way and put it in a beautiful glass and honor it and respect it, smell it, understand it, program it, be blessed with it, and drink it? And when you're in a community, you just pass it along just like nothing. But instead, you can pass it with looking eye to eye. Hey, here's some water. Water is life. And the other person receives it with the two hands. Thank you. Water is life. That act alone is very powerful in so many ways. Again, spiritual and also in the physical form of programming ourselves in many ways. Same thing with the food. So the ancestors, and this is the connection of like how they used to do it and how they were connected to the whole spiritual existence. It's by honoring the cycles of life, honoring life, being respectful to life, being in service to life. So we cannot be talking about spirituality in a church and that's it. We talk about it. We have a good time. We connect to our hearts. I love it. I've been in a lot of churches. I grew up like that. I'm going to tell you my story as well. And there's some singing and it's beautiful. Yet what's missing is the connection to life, the connection to our own lives, but also the connection to the whole existing of life in our surrounding world. So by expanding our consciousness and acting with life in service to life, we are in service to God because God created life. God created all this planet, galaxy, and everything around it, and more galaxies and more life around other parts of this universe that it's naive to think we're the only ones, right? And therefore, we are here on this planet and we're just consuming, exploiting, contaminating, and killing, and it's just disrespectful. It's not honoring. It's not being in gratitude to life, to my life. So spirituality helps us remember of us being in service to God, not as a servant, not as a slave, but in service to life, to ourselves, to be stewards of the land, to stewards of the animals and all life, stewards of each other, not imposing authority type systems like the governments now and corporations wanting to control even in the name of God with the churches and this whole just, I want to say, system that it's manipulative. So there's so much to learn about our connection to spirit, the spirit world, the great mystery, the great spirit, however we want to call it. It's the collective consciousness. It's the one whole mighty intelligence, the God intelligence, not the AI, but the GI. Someone, I think it was Jim Gale, was talking about that. A lot of people are really bringing forth the collective intelligence, just like the mycelium and with the trees around the planet. The whole planet serves as a network, like a brain, and we're not aware of how to communicate with it. But some of us are. So the more we communicate, the more we are out there in nature and just observe and support more life to exist rather than destroying it, that's service to God. And again, what is God? What is spirituality? What is this? Why are we having to be serving to anybody other than ourselves? And that's great, because serving ourselves or being conscious about ourselves, taking care of ourselves, becoming our better selves, that's also a way to serve God. And the more or the better we are with ourselves, the more we love ourselves, the more that radiates outwards. And therefore, by example, others feel inspired, do the same, and just keep growing. But it's not only about us, right? It's about the plants, the trees, the soil, the animals, the systems that we live in. How can we contribute more to life? And then goes to this question again. One question. What am I doing every day to contribute for more life to exist? That one question, you can reevaluate every day with every decision and action that you do? How am I supporting more life to exist? What is that one thing I'm doing every day that I'm helping to support more life to exist? And then over time, you can have all your decisions and actions that can help support life. For example, the clothing I'm using, the technology I'm using, the paint that I use for the walls, or the painting for that art. This plant right here, how am I taking care of it? The door, how is it made, right? What tree, what wood is it using? So if I'm collecting all these elements for my use, what am I giving back to earth, to life? What am I doing in my everyday that can basically balance out my take from it? Because money, yeah, I already paid for it. I already paid money. What does earth do with money? Nothing. What do, like, if the system collapses, the economic system collapses, these paper, which doesn't exist anymore, these digital numbers, how does it support life really? So planting trees, doing compost is the most basic actions we can do every day to help create more life. And it doesn't stop there. Then you do it with community in the garden, and then you expand and start understanding that you create systems with other people and other communities, that their way of using elements or producing, or I don't want to say consuming, but using, covering our needs within the communities, can help also support life, contribute to life. And this is what we want to talk about more and more, so we can practice more and more. So these conversations are important. So a little bit of my story, which you may relate. Many of us have been somehow experienced with God in a religious sense, depending on where you're from in the world. I'm from here in Ecuador, and it's a lot of Catholic, Christian, evangelic. There's also Jews, and mainly that, but there's more different types of cultures. There's the Asian culture with their spirituality. There's a lot of the indigenous cultures with their own spiritual practices. But even the indigenous cultures have been imposed with Catholicism or Christianity. So a lot of people have forgotten their spiritual connection, their ancient spiritual connection, and started practicing just these type of religions, which wherever you go on the Amazon jungle, you'll see a church. Here in the big cities, where used to be temples and spaces for ceremonial practices, the church is built right on top of these temples where they used to be. And that's not cool, because a true spiritual person honors and respects the perception or the views of other people's awareness of spirituality, not to come over the other and say, hey, you're wrong and we're right. So I'm so happy to live in these generations, because I've seen a big transition of people opening up to what spirituality really is, and separating ourselves from what it has been destructive and traumatic. So yeah, I grew up in Ecuador here, and my family made us pray every day, every night. And I would go to school and we would pray, memorize the prayers. And we had classes where they would teach us the Bible and the stories of the Bible. And, so, they're cool stories. And I was open to it. And at the same time, I was creating a huge amount of fear in me. Like, be careful if you do this, and then you're gonna, what's the word in English? Regrets. regrets from what you have done, so God can forgive you and you can, move along with your life better and become a pure person. And it became really struggling for me to open up more my heart to what God is or spirituality is. So yeah, I felt over and over imposed. I used to be bored with it. I used to just avoid it in many ways when I was growing up, from like 5 years old, I remember, all the way to like 12, 13, 14 years old. I'm done with this. So I escaped from my school and the farm with my grandparents. Just escaped. I didn't say anything. And I went all the way to the city, to Quito, by bus. I was like, again, 12, 13 years old. I didn't know where I was going. And I went to meet my mother and I told her I don't want to live there anymore. And I just wanted to be on my own. So that's what happened. I separated from my grandparents and the school that I was. I lived in the city, and the city was a whole nother lifestyle. There was music. I never heard really cool music before. I started hearing the Doors and Led Zeppelin and other rock and roll music in Spanish, and the Beatles and Bob Marley. I never heard that music before. But at the same time, I had no guidance, and my parents did what they can. They shared love to me, which I'm grateful for. I never saw my parents fight. And that love it's the only thing I would take from my family that I really appreciate, because I would have not felt love truly if it wasn't for my mother and my family. There's a certain love there. However, I didn't have enough guidance to really carry my life in a better way. So I was very lazy on studying. I was addicted to many things. I would be just out in the streets, never at home, which is better than today's kids and youth, and just on the addicted to the video games. But I was out in the streets, and I was addicted to alcohol, basically. So there was no guidance enough for me to really carry my life in a better way. But I'm not regretting at all. I actually am grateful for the whole life that I had, and the experience and the learning and just the transformation I had. So I went deep that rabbit hole of just being lost, to then I went to the US at 19, and just did my life there, and I was suffering in many ways because I didn't know what to do with my life. And then at 25, 2009, I started questioning everything. My life was lost. I was addicted to many things and drugs and other stuff. I was lost. I had no interest to live. I had no purpose. I didn't understand my existence. I was overweight, 200 pounds over, and I had like really fat over my neck and everything. I don't have pictures of that. I think I have one somewhere. But the purpose is that I was just driven by society. I was just driven, no guidance. Society itself, my surrounding culture, my surrounding environment was not benefiting me. And I will see others, and I would do the same as others do. And it was just normal for everyone to be that way. So over time, I realized, okay, questioning everything. What am I doing here? What's this existence? I went down that rabbit hole. I got lost. I got sad. I got angry. I was addicted to being angry. Then I felt I was more aware than other people. So my ego grew, and I started telling other people what they should and should not do. So somehow there, I started understanding to care for myself, for my health, and to care for life. So what am I doing here for? What am I ask myself this question? Why do I exist? Why do I exist? What am I here for? What's up? And then I started realizing that there's a lot of problems in the world, and I'm here to be part of the solution. There's so many problems, and I can be part of the solution. And I started asking, what's the best solution I can do? What's the best I can do? What's the most biggest, more greater positive impact I can do in this existence? And I found to take care of myself, to be my best version, to have my best health. And in that process, I started continuing asking, okay, now that I'm doing this, what's the best thing I can do? What's the best thing I can do? Okay, every action that I do can be benefiting life, every single action. So I improved my health, but I also improved my lifestyle, because every single decision and action can actually improve life in this whole existence. I started doing gardens, and through that I learned permaculture, and I was really addicted to permaculture, and I started going through how to feed the soil, how to compost, how to understand the water systems, how to design a house where the house can be benefiting life instead of destroying it, and being a nest rather than just an element that I have to maintain, but actually a nest that's living and that can take care of us. And how everything around my community, my surrounding environment can be benefiting life, can be contributing to life. That's when I started understanding more my purpose. And I think every human's purpose is part of that, as a basis to be living, is to be in gratitude to life by not making it worse, but making it better. And then when I went back to Ecuador, I came back with all this knowledge about ecology and permaculture and awareness of how we can contribute to life. I came to the indigenous cultures, and I wanted to protect the Amazon jungle, and that's what we've been doing in different ways, and mainly with the local indigenous communities, where a lot of the indigenous communities have been separated from their true essence, and now they have been feeling that they want to be civilized and they want to study in the schools and all this, which is okay. Yeah, that's fine. I understand why you want to do that. But at the same time, I was reminding them through programs to value their culture, to value their wisdom, and to not forget their language, not forget their art, not forget their music, not forget their ways to dress, not forget that they know the name of so many plants and trees, and the way they live. And slowly I've been seeing how they are buying more stuff from the market instead of doing the work of cultivating. I've been seeing how they've been more addicted to alcohol instead of doing their community gatherings for making things better. So I've been seeing that, and we've been coming together and helping them not forget who they are. And through that experience, boom, I connected again. That's what we have been doing all along. The indigenous cultures have been connected to the spirit world for thousands of years. And there's a communication. How is there communication? Maybe there's communication to dreams. Amazing. Not everybody has that type of communication. Maybe there's communication through a telepathic awareness, through the frequency of our thoughts, a collective frequency here with our other humans, with the higher consciousness, right? There's that. And there's also a way to communicate through understanding the patterns of life, the cycles of life. So when you see a plant that is a little bit dry, it's communicating that it's dry, it needs water. So I give him water. Maybe the soil needs to be more fertile, and I put some humus there, put some more water, and the plant grows better. But I also see that the plant grows better if I plant in specific seasons and harvest in specific seasons, according to the moon, according to the sun. That's the solstice, the equinox. So when we start living through the cycles of life, understanding the circadian rhythm, we are part of this musical living existence, because we're patterns. If you're aware also about mathematics and geometry, everything is numbers. And as everything is numbers, music also follows a pattern of numbers. When we follow these awareness, then there's harmony. And what is harmony? Harmony is when all the elements of our existence are living their maximal potential. In music, harmony is when all the sounds are in this specific point and they all share the best specific sound vibration together, and together they form that harmonious frequency, that harmonious sound. In the jungle, the tree is the best form of tree it could possibly be. The hummingbird, all the animals, the insects, they're all acting upon the best they can be, right? And that's harmony. They're all sharing, they're coexisting in harmony. In the city, there is no harmony. There's destruction, there's putrefaction, because the putrefaction is the result, the consequence of not harmonious experience. It's the worst of the worst, where all the worst diseases come about. So when we observe the ancestral culture, and they had these communications with the different patterns of life, to the point their mathematical awareness can predict or calculate that there's going to be a solstice with a eclipse. Wow. An eclipse is happening. What does that mean? A lot of people, oh yeah, it's when the sun and the moon happen and they align. But what does that alignment mean? So we understand that there's cycles of life throughout our planet, throughout the connection with the sun and the moon, but also with other planets, but also with other alignments. And astrology comes in, right? And there's different forms of understanding astrology and measuring astrology. So when we start connecting with all these alignments, that's a form of communicating with God, because we aligned our existence, mapped in this reality somehow. And we can see that there's alignments further down the existence, where these alignments can create a specific type of synchronicity within our lives. So there's communication there as well. So you see, there's many ways to communicate with God, with ourselves, with our heart. Meditation. A lot of people I've seen that are religious, they don't agree with meditation. They actually fear meditation. I've been seeing it in different religions that meditation is evil, and that clearing the mind is evil, and we shouldn't, because then other bad spirits are going to come in. And it's not about that. It's about confronting the evil, because really it's only in our minds that we create that stuff. And of course there could be like demon energies and all that type of things, but at the end of the day, we are the ones that are creating that somehow with our lifestyles, with our energy forces. So if we're aware of the energies that we're creating, the patterns of our existence are forming itself based on what we are emanating. So when we are aware of that, we can completely shift and say, okay, I'm going to meditate, and I know I'm full of love, and that love is radiating outwards, and I have this coherence of my mind, my heart, and my gut with my intuition, and I start emanating the power of love as a capsule right here around me, and emanates more and more and more and more around the city, the planet, and everything. It just can expand so much. And that type of meditation can really help tap into the different frequencies of existence, of God, and information. Everything is information. So we can communicate, we can emanate outwards as well as we can receive. And to receive, we just need to be open to see what's already in front of us, not just to see with our eyes, but to feel, to sense, and perceive. Again, perceiving, and the perception of how we are creating our reality, how we see our reality, and understand that we can create ourselves. We're just not ourselves just because I am. Oh, I am, that's what I am, that's who I am, and that's what it is, and that's it. No, I am thanks to my ancestors. I am who I am, but I'm also aware that I can continue creating what I am and what I want to be. So we create ourselves through time and space, not only in my life, but my future generations. I continue creating that. And that's also a more expanded awareness of what spirituality is. And going back to my story, I grew up in Pedro Vicente Maldonado in a town, in a farm with my grandparents. Again, I escaped from there. I went to the city. In the city, I got lost. I got lost when I went to the San Francisco, California, 19 all the way to 25. And it hit me where it's like, okay, my connection to God is by being in service to life. So I'm telling you this whole arc of the story, right? And now I'm connected with God more than ever through continuously since then, 2009, which is 17 years ago, being in service to life and being aware and conscious and carrying my life as a ceremony every day, everywhere I go. My life is a ceremony. I am grateful. I am honored in respecting my life. I love my life and I love everything I'm doing around my life. And therefore, God is everywhere. God is in the walls. God is in that picture there. God is in the door. God is in the computer. God is right here. God has no form and it has all forms. It's a frequency. It's an energy force. It's a collective of everything. And us, we have, or we are part of God. Like our consciousness can also create realities. Maybe not like a whole galaxy, but can definitely create our surrounding reality, and we can share that reality with others. So collectively, we are creating this reality through our consciousness of ourselves. And that consciousness is so powerful that we have forgotten on purpose. It's designed through these specific beings that have guided us to forget our true essence and the power that we have. So you may agree with this or not, but you may find, you may feel, and this is important, because if you feel something, you know that it can be possible for many reasons. And I for me, I know, but for you, you can investigate or feel it on your own, that we humans are being treated as cattle. We are being farmed here in the world. Some species from outside or some big force somewhere, because again, some evil forces can be existent, but we have created it somehow. And they are farming us, not to harvest our bodies, but to harvest our consciousness. That consciousness is being sucked to create the reality that we're creating. And how is it being sucked? With our attention. Where we are giving our attention. When we are all putting the attention to the wars and the FIFA World Cup and the distractions, we're putting that attention into that fear, into that doubt, into that scarcity, all that attention into consumption, into exploitation, all that attention into feeding those that want to be in power, which is the 1% of like oligarchs and technocrats, and we are feeding them the power just like that. Now they're not only sucking it, now we are giving it to them just like that, with every decision and action we take every day, with every transaction we have every day. So that's an energy force, which for them, these Masons or something, they called themselves like Illuminati, whatever, they are using the forces in their own spiritual way for their own benefit, making us forget that we have that power too. We have the force with us. May the force be with you. That force is the spiritual connection. There's the spiritual connection of becoming aware of our full force, the spiritual connection of understanding our existence, feeling our purpose, and living the best life we can live in service to the best life we can continue creating. So, regenerative spirituality is to observe, reevaluate what spirituality is, and bring about that force, the collective consciousness, the great spirit, the mystery, whatever you want to call it. There is something out there, something huge, way bigger than us, that we cannot prove all the way. There's different forms of proving, like miracles and beautiful things happening. However, we prove it in our own lives, with our own connection, with our own communication, in our own path, because there is destiny for all of us. God has a destiny for all of us. And at the same time, we can choose to continue to that destiny or separate ourselves from it, or just be separated from it. Because, and even if you're separated and you're unconscious about it, you're going to get there. There's a path for you already, and you're going to get there. Maybe it takes 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, many dimensions, whatever. But we all have something to be doing here. We're aware of it or not, we have a purpose. We're already doing that purpose, even if you don't know. We're already doing it. And when you discover it and when you remember that purpose, you're going to laugh and say, oh, I've been doing it all along. That's so funny. Yes, you've been doing it all along, because you were distracted from your force. You feel me? So that is what's up with regenerative spirituality. And there's so much we can talk about. I want to share that every time I come here, it's for us to come together in the Regen Circle. It's a a community of regenerative leaders that we are co-creating here, a system to govern ourselves and a system to be in service to life. So what this means is that every Thursday we meet for the Regen Circle with specific topics, like I mentioned, different pillars of our society that can be regenerative, hence, thus, regenerative culture. So a culture, all cultures can be regenerative, all of them. We take what works, what is amazing, what has helped us, and we shed away what is not benefiting us anymore. And so we regenerate the culture. And within that culture, today we're talking about spirituality, which is one of the most important aspects of our existence, because if we're not aware of our connection to spirit, then we can't activate our full potential and our purpose to life. And once we're connected with our awareness of that, then we can flow in harmony, flow with the wave, with the wind, flow with our purpose. Easy. And of course, easy doesn't mean that there's no challenges. Challenges are part of our growth. So it's easy with the challenges, basically, because we are accepting and welcoming the challenges. Of course, anticipating problems that we don't necessarily want to repeat, because we have learned already. So we continue the growth through the awareness of our full potential in our spirit selves, which is in our heart, is in our surrounding environment, is everywhere. Spirituality is everywhere. So with this said, every Thursday we're coming together here. For now, it's just me. Sometimes our other members join us, and that's great. And I'm going to invite you to come to the next one so we can have a deeper conversation. Next topic for next week is regenerative living. So today is the last of the 8 pillars. Next week, we're going to start over regenerative living, but we're not going to talk about the same thing or or topic. There's a general topic of the pillar, but each pillar has so much to talk about, so many subtopics with broad awareness of everything, with many experiences. So next week, regenerative living, and we're going to guide this topic towards becoming a leader. What does regenerative living mean? The regenerative living movement is getting stronger and stronger, and we're going to tap into it specifically on what is it to become a leader, a regenerative leader. We cannot be a regenerative leader if we're not practicing regeneration in our personal lives. We cannot be acting upon a regenerative business or regenerative project if we're not practicing a regenerative life ourselves in our daily habits, in our community, family. So yeah, so much to say, so much to do, with all the love, with all the power that we have for us to keep growing. Let's make it happen. Announcements. What's happening in the next few months, weeks, years? This is important because we're taking the regenerative leadership community to the next level, which we train ourselves to become better based on values and principles that allows us to be coherent in which what we are acting upon, from our thoughts, our word, our action. Are we coherent? Are we coherent with our projects and communities? So, announcement. We're starting on Monday, the 13 moon cycle training, which means we are practicing 13 principles in the course of 13 moons, a whole year of practicing new principles that allows our daily lives to be in coherence from what we are talking about, what we're doing. So each week, we're going to share one new habit based on that one principle for that month. So in the course of 1 month, we have 4 new habits that you can replace with what you're doing, or if you don't have that habit, you can add it. So by the end of the year, which is 13 moons, not 12 months, 13 moons is 52 new habits. So can you see that from a year from now, we're going to be another person? Yeah. And every year you keep practicing those habits more and more, and you keep piling up new habits. So now what's happening is that it's not enough to do it on your own. We're doing it at a group, and it starts next Monday, in which together we're going to be accountable. We're going to support each other. We're going to tell our stories. We're going to make it happen, because one course or one retreat or one coach can help you so far. It could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, but what if we do for a whole year? A whole year of maintaining a good level of action every day. Hey, brother, hey, sister, how's your habits going? Did you improve it? What's your struggles? What's your challenges? What's happening? Tell us what's going on. We're here for each other. Let's keep it making it happen. And therefore, when more we align with these principles, with these habits, with the lifestyle, everything else falls into place easier. Our business, our projects, money starts coming in because we are synchronized with those alignments that I was telling you about, because we're in service to life, and life becomes in service back to us by default. Easy. It's a frequency that we live with, that becoming who we truly are. So now that's happening next Monday. If you can't join us next Monday, you can join the Monday after, or next month, whenever you are ready. This is not the only way to start is not starting this July. We're starting as a group. Better if we do it now, because from a year from now, we're going to finish together. But if you want to start later, that's fine too. Anybody can start throughout the year. I'm going to be sharing an invitation throughout the year. People can join any time of the year. It's not like you have to start on a certain day to start. You can start already today, basically on Mondays, or if you join on a Wednesday, you can just start the Wednesday. But every Monday, we're going to share the new habit. And that habit, you're going to practice it throughout the week. And again, next Monday, you're going to pile up the next habit. And therefore, by the end of the year, again, you got 52 new habits. And it's not just adding the habit. We're going to share tools, systems, methodologies of how to incorporate habits and let go of other habits. This is leadership training to regenerate our lives, to regenerate the planet. So that's what the 13 Moon Cycle training program is all about. Now, the Regen Circle is happening every Thursday again. Please come, check it out, have a conversation inside the leadership community that you are part of. If you're not part of the leadership community, you're going to be able to watch live on YouTube how us, the community, can exchange our experiences, wisdom, and talents and all that so we can improve our lives as leaders. If you are not part of the leadership community, you can be part of it by signing up. There is a commitment with money and commitment of your time and your force. If there's no payment, there is no commitment fully for you to be part of it. So that's why we require a contribution of $440 for the whole year. And that money goes to our production here for us to continue growing. And if you want to learn more about how the leadership community works, there's a governance system. There is also an economic system that we make decisions about. And that all is starting to form more and more as we go, because we just started a few weeks ago. And so next announcement is the Seeds Retreat. Seeds is happening again since 2014. The Seeds experience is where we act upon everything that we have been learning. It's a little taste of what regenerative living is, what community living is, what governance is in the community, what living self-sufficient is, what spirituality is within the community, how to live healthy as a community and cooking together and making music together and just surround ourselves by what we have been wanting to create for so long. So that's what Seeds Regeneration is about. It's happening in August in the Amazon jungle from the 20th to the 30th. It's 11 days. Welcome to join us. Now, the next announcement. There's the council where we make decisions as a community. And then there's the Regen Heart meeting, which is Corazonar, which is heart and mind coherence, where we open up and understand ourselves deeply. That's also spirituality. And these meetings don't have a date yet, but I do want to just let you know about them. And it's coming up and we're going to be announcing it soon. And that's pretty much all of the announcements. I appreciate you. I love you. I love myself. And keep it going. Keep regenerating. Keep acting upon what you think is best for yourself, what you think is best for your family and for the world. So the more we talk about these things, the more we learn, the more we act upon it and live that life. So these videos are cool. It's not just being online here in the computer, but actually acting in the real world, wherever you go, in the park, in the neighbor house, in the streets, wherever you go, you can radiate, emanate that beautiful love, that frequency of change and abundance, prosperity. So yeah, thank you. Muchas gracias. Un aplauso, por favor. Thank you for connecting. I'll talk to you next time. See you. Peace, love, and prosperity for all.